Good afternoon. My name is Ed Borromeo. I'm the Director of Venture Management at Tallwave, which is a Scottsdale-based company. Today's panel topic is a growing tech hub here in Scottsdale. And we have some tech leaders here with us today. I'm going to go ahead and introduce them. First up is we have Spencer Hoekstra from YELP. He's a director of accounts there. Spencer actually started with YELP in San Francisco as an entry-level account manager, and today he's a director of accounts here at YELP Scottsdale. So thanks for being with us,
Thanks.
Spencer. Next, we have Josh Manley, CEO of ReplyBuy. Welcome here, Josh. He's named one of the top 35 entrepreneurs under 35 in Arizona. His company, ReplyBuy, was a winner of the Arizona Innovation Challenge. And he was also in the top 4 companies in the Venture Madness competition. So we're excited to have you here, Josh. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Next up, we have Rajeev Arora. He's a Senior Vice President of Products at Parchment. Rajeev is a sales, marketing, and product development professional. He's responsible for all product and corporate marketing at Parchment. Rajeev, welcome.
My pleasure.
And last but not least, we have Yani Deros. He's the president of ATOMdesign. Yani has over 25 years of product innovation experience. He's provided solutions to startups and global enterprises. He's internationally recognized and honored for product innovation, specializing in the commercialization of emerging technologies. Yani, we're happy to have you here.
Thank you, Ed. Pleasure to be here.
So we're just going to jump right into it. Again, the panel topic is an emerging tech hub here in downtown Scottsdale. So maybe we can start off just briefly talking about what your companies are and what they do, and maybe some latest news. So let's start here with you, Spencer.
Sure. So YELP, it's a website that connects people with great local businesses. Many of you, maybe even most of you, have used it at one time or another to find a restaurant or a doctor or a mechanic. We have offices here in Scottsdale, also our headquarters in San Francisco, an office in New York, Dublin, London, Hamburg, and most recently opening one in Chicago in the beginning of next year. Yeah.
Awesome.
Sure, just to tell you a little bit about ReplyBuy. ReplyBuy was honestly started with a feature. We're a mobile commerce company. We provide the ability to transact with a text message. And so when we started looking at the space and developing the platform, we figured out very quickly that it's a very convoluted, fragmented industry, and decided there had to be an easier way. So we found our sweet spot not too long ago, actually, as far as working with professional sports teams, college teams, helping them with the problem of unsold ticketing revenue opportunities. A lot of these teams have extra inventory, and when it comes down to the last 3 or 4 hours before the game, they don't have an effective way to reach you as a fan and get you to buy something. So when a client works with us, if you're opted into the program, you receive a quick text message, you reply back to the text, and purchase your tickets. So we just engaged with Ticketmaster. We have a 3-year partnership deal with them.
Okay, so Parchment's education credentials company, and sometimes I sort of get blank stares when I say that one. So what that means is, certainly for the first 2 decades of our lives, and oftentimes for many of us lifelong, we're earning different education credentials, certificates or degrees, or new MOOC courses or any of those sorts of things. But all of those things are sort of bound up in paper. So we finish the degree, and then maybe at the most I might go ahead and frame up my diploma, and that's about the extent of it. And what we really want to do is we want to take those credentials and make them electronic. You might use something like Mint, which goes ahead and takes all your financial accounts and consolidates them into one place. And once you have them in one place, you can do all sorts of things. You can figure out, maybe I should use a different credit card, or maybe I should invest someplace else. And Parchment does the same thing. It allows you to take all of your education credentials, put them all online, so you can go ahead and see, what should I do next? What opportunities does this open up for me? Should I do another certificate? Should I go to a different degree? Should I apply to a certain job? All of those sorts of things are actually possible. And in the meantime, what it allows us to do is take all of those credentials that need to be exchanged. So if you've got kids who are going from high school to college, if you're going from your undergraduate college to postgraduate, you need to send your transcripts, you need to go ahead and send all of those things from one place to another. Believe it or not, a bunch of that stuff still happens via mail, via the US Postal Service, which is ridiculous in this day and age. So we go ahead and allow people to do that all electronically, so people can come to parchment.com, create their account, say, this is where I went to school, this is what I want to go do next, and we'll go ahead and take care of all of that paperwork for you all electronically, and you can track it all. So that's the Parchment business.
I'm Yani Deros. I'm president of ATOMdesign. We're a leading product innovation firm here in Scottsdale. We're based at SkySong. Built the business from scratch. It's been a wonderful journey, what I can say. But we're really at the forefront of developing new technologies, solutions that can transform and disrupt marketplaces. So everything from medical technology, devices, implants, all the way through consumer electronics, education, new technologies for education, and even into the vehicle transportation market. So I can honestly say I've been in this business for 25 years. I still look forward to coming to work every day. It's always a new challenge. Everything is fresh. We got a great team and clients. We have a footprint here in Scottsdale, but our shadow is national and going global. So we're really thrilled to be a part of it and share with our experience here in Scottsdale. So.
Awesome, thanks guys. So I know for sure as Tallwave, we relocated ourselves in Scottsdale to be around great companies like this. So I'd like to ask the group here, so what were the two leading factors in your location decision? Clearly you could have chosen other places. What were the main drivers for your decision to be here?
I can give that a start. So we started out in Scottsdale. We actually started out ASU SkySong. Our CEO is Matthew Patinsky. And for those who don't know, Matthew was actually one of the co-founders of a company called Blackboard. So if you've ever been to college or your kids are going to college, you probably went ahead and used the learning management system that Matthew actually started out. He was the founding CEO, took the company public, and then relocated to Arizona and became an adjunct faculty at ASU. And then when he had the idea to go ahead and acquire this company out of LA and turn it into Parchment, he started it out at SkySong. So it was obvious to us that we would stay in Scottsdale. We didn't move too far. We went from SkySong maybe 5 miles north to the Forum. And the other part, besides Matthew's affinity for Scottsdale and the Arizona area, is just the talent pool that's around here. Phoenix, Scottsdale has a great education technology cluster. We've got Blackboard here, we've got Pearson here, we've got obviously the Apollo Group, University of Phoenix. So just, some great companies from which we can go ahead and source some really good talent about what it is that we're actually trying to build out. So those two things are probably the main things for us.
Well, I mean, for our journey, we started in Phoenix and then came to a crossroads in our business history where we said, well, where do we want to go from here? Our lease was up, and we had been doing a lot of business at SkySong and involved with a lot of the AZ Tech conference, lunch and learns, and businesses there. We saw there was an opportunity. We thought about maybe getting a hot desk there or something, and Jody, my partner, she's like, well, let's look at getting a space there. And fortunately, there was the one right at the main entrance opening up. It wasn't an easy task. We had to convince them that we weren't a manufacturing facility or something or a call center. But we ended up landing in there, and I'll tell you, it's been a wonderful experience. We have walk-in traffic, which is very unique for our type of business. The facility houses 5,000 to 6,000 people a month on business, finance, new technologies. The Scottsdale community, we're on the Scottsdale Gateway Alliance. We're on the board there, Jody and I. So we're helping promote the growth of technology in Scottsdale. So the infrastructure of Scottsdale, they're looking to change the dynamic there. But, everybody, when we travel and talk to people around the country, everybody knows somebody from Scottsdale. Everybody has been here at some point. They have a relative here. But the other thing that we realized over the years is that there's a lot of retired talent here that has a lot of great experience, and they want to give back. And we've had the privilege of really meeting a lot of these people that have helped change the direction of our business. So, you know, we're also giving back, helping the students and the companies coming out of ASU, obviously at SkySong, but we're pretty excited. There's a lot of energy in the community, a lot of people that are willing to reach out and help others, and we're happy to call it home.
Sure, I'll go next. Yeah, I mean, for us, it was a pretty simple choice. We incorporated, we're actually out in the East Valley, but made the switch pretty quickly to the city of Scottsdale. For us, I mean, I think you mentioned it, but it's well recognized, right, across the country. For us, it's also a place, at least in our minds, that clients will want to come visit. Maybe not this time of year, but most of the year. So yeah, I mean, that was one of the main factors, is we wanted an attractive location, but also a place with a good vibe. And I think Old Town Scottsdale has a good buzz to it. We're not that far from, you know, ASU, centrally located. And so for us, I mean, you know, the valley's huge. So it was just kind of narrowing it down to a place that we felt at home, and that just happened to be Old Town Scottsdale.
Okay, so Rajeev, you sort of touched on this in terms of talent, but you know, labor has sort of been a hot topic lately. Can the group share, you know, share with us some of the challenges, either positive or negative, in terms of the recruitment results coming from here in the Scottsdale area or around the valley?
Sure. So, you know, we've grown a lot in the last 3 years. You know, we've grown from about 60 people to about 155 people. 80 of them are in Scottsdale. So we've grown significantly, and so we've had to do a bunch of recruiting. And we've done some recruiting on college, but really the main source of recruiting has been sort of other companies around. So we've got people from LifeLock, we've got people from GoDaddy, we've got people from Blackboard and University of Phoenix and all of those sorts of places. So I think because we're in education technology, it's a little bit easier for us, and Matthew, with his you know, resume of having taken Blackboard public, and you know, he was chairman till it got sold for $2 billion. You know, he can attract both capital and people here. On the negative side, you know, probably the big issue for us really is just, you know, it's not Scottsdale, it's Arizona and the brand of Arizona. You know, we've got this brand of, you know, where usually when young hip people are hearing about us, it's on the Jon Stewart show or the Stephen Colbert show, making fun of Arizona as the crazy state. So, you know, we've got to figure out how to go ahead and change some of the politics and policies, you know, so people feel welcome. You know, that's kind of the main thing. You know, if we want technology leaders to come here, we've got to be an inclusive sort of economy and not promulgate some of these policies which sort of make people feel excluded. So that's probably the biggest negative that I have, you know, when I try to convince people to move here. It's just that the brand image that Arizona as a state has. Scottsdale as a city is very, very attractive, you know, from a quality of life and all of that, but the state of Arizona has got some brand problems that we got to solve.
I think from my standpoint, with our business, we're very technical and we have some high expectations for talent. So we've struggled over the years attracting people, but we've got a really good connection with ASU. We've got a lot, we've hired several graduate students, research side. We get an exciting program, which is a game changer called Stream Research. And, you know, we've tripled the staff in that area and probably going to double it again by the end of the year. So I think there's a really good connection from that standpoint. Engineering-wise, there's obviously ASU has a phenomenal education engineering department, so we're tapped into that, and there's some really good talent pools with you know, large corporations that are everything from medical, Medtronic, all the way to General Dynamics, and even people at Taser. So there's a really good network and community in here that we can all kind of borrow and utilize. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think for our recruiting, the upshot has been that the quality of the talent pool has been awesome. We're largely hiring for sales, account management, operations, things to support the sales effort. but we're currently hiring at a rate of about between 40 and 50 a month on the sales side, and between 10 and 15 a month on the account management side. So we have to source about 60 people a month, but all of the reasons that the other guys indicated in terms of the quality of the candidates, whether it's the quality of the schools, other businesses that people are leaving to come to Yelp, whether it's University of Phoenix or other tech industry jobs. We've definitely found that we have a good brand that people recognize, so when we post a job listing, it gets a ton of hits. So for us, it's a matter of being able to sift through the candidate pool and trying to figure out what our criteria are. I think on the downside, I think you've nailed it, where there is definitely for getting people out of state, whether it's California, especially California, to come to Arizona, I think that there is a perception, largely misguided and largely sort of superficial, but certainly one that we have to bring people here and say, like, look around and then tell me what you think. So we've been really successful in terms of just having people come visit from California or from wherever. And once they get a sense of what Scottsdale's like, what Old Town's like, what the greater Phoenix and Valley of the Sun is like in terms of quality of life, it actually has been pretty easy once they set foot in the state.
Now, I know, Josh, your business is emerging. It's relatively recent, and you're on the growth path. Have you experienced any challenges in terms of recruiting talent or labor?
Yeah, that it's actually a good point. So I was just going to comment that I think, as far as talent, obviously there's talent here. There's a lot of talent coming out of ASU. But depending on the stage of your company, right, you're looking for different skill sets, trying to attract different skill sets. And so when you have an established brand, that becomes maybe a little bit easier. But when we're only looking for A players, guys that are looking to change the world, to join our company. We don't want to just fill a role. So it's an entirely different skill set. And I think, even people who want to join a company like ReplyBuy, sometimes there's a misconception of what goes into actually starting a business or a company and how many hats you have to wear. So I'd say from that standpoint, the Arizona, I think it's getting better. A lot of these, well, I shouldn't say a lot, a percentage of kids that want to be involved in startups, they go directly to the Bay, or they go to New York. So from that standpoint, it's probably a little bit more challenging here, but we've found some great talent here. There's a lot of interesting skill sets. There's been a lot of successes, and I think one thing that's going to put us on the map is probably having a few more big wins on the board to help this ecosystem as far as exits. So anyway, that's just my take.
I appreciate that perspective. So since you've moved your companies here, and some of you have been more established than others, how have you seen the area emerge since that time? Or where do you see it going?
I've seen, in particular in the area around Skysong where we're at, when we got there, it was probably 85% full, and in a very short period of time, it filled up with new technologies, new companies, and they're putting in building 3, and that's all full already, and it hasn't even been finished, and they're talking about breaking ground for building 4 and 5 already. So we see that as really an epicenter, and there's a lot of things going on in the Scottsdale area. But I think Ravi made a great point about the brand, and I think it's all the impetus on all of us to share our successes with the community, with the state and nationally, because when you look at some place like California, the brand isn't really necessarily the state, it's the success stories. LA, Hollywood, you got Silicon Valley, which is San Francisco, and in order for us to own something and want people to drive and come here, we have to give them a reason to, and that's our businesses for the guys on stage and everybody in the audience. So I think we believe in the infrastructure, we believe in the community, and we need to get behind that and share those successes. So.
Our company is, we've been in Scottsdale now for about 3 years, so I don't know that the area's changed that much in the last 3 years, but it's been a phenomenal place for us to be. The location that we have is just a great place. There's hotels and restaurants and everything within walking distance. We love the fact that Tallwave's in the same building, Ethology, which is a company that we want to use, Weiss Brown, which is a legal firm that we've used in the past. So I think, there's a good cluster of people that we can just use locally, and then certainly, in terms of having out-of-town people, there's lots and lots of reasons for them to come to Scottsdale, and there's lots of good accommodation and lots of good entertainment options. So that's worked out very well, but I can't really speak to how it's changed very much.
I'd like to share a little secret that we use in trying to recruit people, which has worked over the years. When we really try to look for new talent, we wait till the fall and deep winter, and we put in ads in the local, northern climates, and we get people. I mean, I put out engineering jobs, and I get like 300 or 400 applicants, just with the job description. But people want to change out there. You just got to give them a reason to, and I think we can use the local environment and everything to our advantage at the right time. So that's how we succeed.
What markets are you targeting?
What markets?
Yeah.
I go right to Chicago, St. Louis, New York, larger metropolitan areas, even Portland and Seattle, because, people that get tired of rain. So, and a lot of the interest that we see are people that have a little bit more experience, that they've had the successes, and they just want to settle down, have a nice way of life, and enjoy it. And I think that's the people that we've managed to attract. And there's people that we can't convince to come here. We have some key individuals that are remoted in Chicago that we're just thankful that they're part of the team. And we've had people that are come and gone, but I've gone through a lot of hiring and searching over the years, and that's a formula that's worked for us. So.
Great. So thinking about your businesses and thinking about the ecosystem here, how can the state and or the city of Scottsdale specifically continue to support the growth of your company and the community? Thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think as far as, bringing businesses here, I think the Commerce Authority, we were awarded the grant, as you mentioned, but, that's a lot of support that other states aren't giving. So as far as from an Arizona perspective, I would say that continuing to do things like that to retain talent here and keep companies here makes a lot of sense. I'm not aware of any necessarily incentives that the city of Scottsdale is putting out to keep companies here or necessarily locate companies here, but I'd be curious to understand a little bit more about that. We like it just based on its own merit, but.
From my perspective, I talked about the brand problem already, so, whatever we can do to sort of, get rid of silly things like SB 1070 and 1062 and whatever else we got going, that would help a lot. And I think besides that, we're in education technology, so, I'm always thinking we should be doing a better job of supporting our education infrastructure here. Whether it's the K-12 education piece or supporting our universities better. And I know each of their budgets continue to get cut. I don't know whether the city of Scottsdale has any bearing on that or not. I assume that it does, so, where we can help our young students do a better job. And then from an early stage company perspective, venture capital is huge. And I've started probably 3 different companies here, and 2 of them have been venture capital companies. And where we can go ahead and have the rules and regulations which allow, whether it's tax credits or, whatever the regulation policies are to allow people to get more into venture capital. Here most of the money is made on real estate. And everybody knows how to make money on real estate. What we got to do is figure out how it is that we can convince them to diversify away from real estate into tech and other clusters like that. So if we can do any of those sorts of things, I think that would be a huge help.
From our standpoint, I think it's already started. There's momentum out there. The state of Arizona with the Commerce Authority is, they've infusing money into startups and businesses. They've helped us out. So I'm obviously benefiting from that. The legislature has passed tax incentives to get up to 25% of R&D back, which is something when we meet with companies that are developing new technologies, new opportunities, we share that with them, and that gives them, pause and actually interest in moving forward in some opportunities. So I think the legislatures, I think they could probably do a little bit more, obviously. But the university is there. You get a tight connection with them. And going back to education, there are areas in the country that promote creative problem solving early on in high school, even in grade school. I mean, the city of Detroit has sponsors design competitions in grammar school, and they get people thinking in a different way. We've hired some amazing people from the Midwest that way. So the STEM education and things that are happening, there's this really big movement. So I think getting behind that, showing our support, and getting it to a place where it benefits and creates an undercurrent that will propel tomorrow's thought leaders and game changers out there is very important for us all.
Great, thank you. So we're nearing the end here, but let's talk about maybe some trends you're seeing in the technology sector and the space. What are you seeing out there that maybe we should be aware of as we, as a community, start thinking about our own technology ecosystem here, and what we should look forward to on the horizon? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I was talking a little bit with Josh about one of the things that we're seeing a lot is the move towards extremely niche businesses in terms of tech. So websites, apps, things that are very, very specific as opposed to trying to solve everybody's problems, solving all their problems, solving one problem really, really well. So we're seeing websites and apps like, I guess Uber is a really good example where it's just one thing done really well. And there are a lot of opportunities like that for various websites, various tech companies to solve one problem extremely thoroughly and do it in a way that's compelling and do it in a way that doesn't feel like it's trying to be a jack of all trades. So I think that's what we're seeing a lot of companies that are even providing technology solutions for one part of a business. So instead of trying to have one person solve 10 problems for our business, we have one company that solves one thing super, super well.
On the education side, that's kind of been my life for the last dozen years or so, and there's phenomenal work happening. I mentioned MOOCs, which are the massively open online courses. There's universities out there, Harvard and Stanford and every place else, that's offering their courses for free. So go ahead and enroll and learn from those kinds of things. There is all sorts of technology companies here that are doing a great job. Whether it's just fixing on one small little problem. So for example, Picmonic, which is a local company, they're basically trying to figure out how to go ahead and make content far more graphical and far more memorable in order to be able to help very specific segments of learning. So there's some really, really interesting pieces, on the education side that are phenomenal. One of the new things that universities locally are sort of leading, NAU, for example, they're doing this thing called competency-based learning. So instead of you having to sit in a classroom for a certain amount of time for a certain number of credits before you can get a degree, you can go ahead and say, I've already worked 15 years. Let me go ahead and show you what I know already. And you can test out of a bunch of courses. Higher education cost is climbing, but when you can do things like competency-based learning, test out, you're able to go ahead and get a degree maybe in a year or two rather than 3 or 4 years. So, compresses the time, compresses the cost, all of those sorts of things. So very interesting stuff happening.
I think if you really want to get a pulse on what's going on, if you turn to the Arizona Tech Council, there's a lot of things happening in there. They sponsor a lot of great events. Steve Zylstra has been a champion of promoting the technology company within the community within Arizona and nationally. He's helped get a lot of the funding in place for the tax credits and everything. He's an amazing asset that we have in Arizona. From an education standpoint, ASU, I don't know if you know this, it's the largest student body in the nation. I didn't know it up until about 5 years ago. But what Michael Crow has done and the infrastructure he's put into ASU is to propel it forward and stay at the forefront. Technologies, moving things downtown in Phoenix, spreading out the sustainable side. We're pretty fortunate because we have people, Jennifer's here, we have people that come in almost on a daily basis with ideas and share those ideas with us. So from our standpoint, I don't know what was going to come through our door the next day. I'd love to help these individuals and companies more than I can. In some cases, we try to make connections where possible, but I would love to be, roll things back 15 years and be a student again, and live in this type of environment where we have crowdfunding and crowdsourcing and everything. It's just an amazing time to have an idea. And I think we all need to get behind those ideas as individuals, corporations, and a community, and help the success go across the board. So.
Sure, yeah, I'll chime in. I think there's two things that I think are personally fascinating. I mean, the mobile payment space is obviously growing. Again, it's really fragmented, but it's predicted to be, a $100 billion market, and by the year 2018, the most successful mobile transactions company on the planet today is Starbucks, and they have their act together. Everybody pulls out their phone, swipe it. It's very streamlined, very simple. But then you look at the digital wallet space, and it's kind of a mess, right? It's not I guess the question is there a real problem to solve? Few things are easier than pulling out your credit card and swiping it. So what we're interested to, obviously the space that we're in, we're not a point of sale company, point of sale mobile company, but the only thing that the analysts can agree on is that there's really no clear winner in sight, and there's going to be a lot of acquisitions and mergers in the next couple of years. The only other thing that I'm kind of passionate about, and I'm really curious to see where it goes, is beacon technology. And Ed, we were talking about this before, but creating that contextual awareness that the building should know that I'm here and tailor my experience when I walk into the venue to me or to other individuals. And it's coming. No one's really figured it out yet, but it's starting to become a hot topic.
Awesome, all exciting stuff. We have a few minutes left. Do we have any questions from the audience?
What would be your next, go to San Francisco, LA, where would you go? You don't have to go, please stay, but if you had to, go to Chandler, what would you do?
Well, I'll start on that one. I started my working career in the San Francisco Bay Area, and the technology vibe that's in the Bay Area is unparalleled. You can go to any coffee shop and, the three tables around you are going to be talking about starting up another company and what the ideas there are, and there's going to be a venture capitalist probably down the road from you. So the environment that those guys have been able to create around entrepreneurship, around innovation, around startups is just a phenomenal place. So if I was going to pick one, I'd pick one, but I'm happy here. I've lived here 17 years, and my daughters have grown up here, and one is in NAU, and the other one's in high school at Pinnacle, and, I love this place. There you go. Yeah, exactly.
No, being in business as long as I have, I might migrate someplace like Texas. One, because of the tax codes, and two, because of what they're building in infrastructure for businesses and attracting businesses from around the country. Austin area is just amazing. It's a thriving metropolis that I think probably in about 7 to 10 years is going to rival San Francisco, from what I've seen with the university. There's not a lot of people that go to school that leave Austin in those campuses that are down there. So I think everybody should sit up and pay attention to what's going on there. Dallas has just attracted Toyota headquarters for North America, 20,000 people moving there. FedEx is moving to Dallas. So as a state, I think we really need to step up and look at the incentives to draw businesses to change our brand. But I think Texas is doing all the right things. California has that legacy, but that's changing, and I see that in a lot of the people I talk to in travels.
Any other questions back there?
Yeah.
Does disruptive technology really have to solve a problem? I keep hearing about the problem that's getting solved. So, for example, what problem did the iPhone solve when it first came out? Do you have to solve a problem, or can you just be disruptive? Provide that way to even the world.
I feel like the iPhone solved the problem that phones were lame, and afterwards they weren't lame at all. And everyone loves to use their phone instead of feeling like they have to be attached to this dumb, really like dumb in every sense of the word, device in their pocket or even attached to the outside of their belt.
That's a great question. I'm asked that every time I give a presentation because that's one of our fortes. But I think what the iPhone did is disrupt. It has converted culture. I mean, people, the way they interface with their devices, they delivered an experience that nobody else had. And that's really, I mean, you look at this, and I walk down the streets of New York City and Chicago all the time, and people are just buried in their devices. And I say to myself, and I think back, I said, think of all the relationships that people are missing, passing, locking eyes, sitting on the bus or something, and they're all buried in their devices. So yes, it disrupted the consumer electronics market, but at what cost? So I don't think you need to go out there and try to change the world, but there are implications if you do try to do that. And I think it's very important that there needs to be a benefit, and based on that benefit, you'll see people wanting and aspiring to own their product. And they've just done a great job. I mean, they're marketing masters, but it's come at a cost, I think.
I think just to piggyback on that, I think Yani makes a good point that there's always a cost, but like the entire point of us trying to disruption has a negative undercurrent that I think gets lost when it gets turned into a tech buzz term. I used to get in trouble for being a disruptive student, and people don't really like disruption. Disruption is like it's a violent act, I guess, and so there's always a risk, and the greater the disruption, odds are the greater the reward, but also the greater risk that you put forth sort of disrupting that thing. So yeah, people are walking around with their phones, but I don't know, being in the city or being in San Francisco or New York, I think sometimes it's a benefit to not have to like try to avoid people's gaze or,
Well, so, I think the question as I understood it is, does a disruptive technology actually have to solve a problem? Can you just be a disruptive technology? And I think, yeah, you can be just a disruptive technology, but unless you can easily explain why it is that somebody might want it, it's very tough to go ahead and get that product to market. It's very tough, certainly, to go ahead and get venture capital. If you're gonna, in venture capital, they have this term, I'd rather invest in Advil or aspirin. You've got a headache, you must buy an Advil or aspirin to go ahead and solve it, than invest in a vitamin. It's very tough to convince people to go ahead and get vitamins. So even if you have a disruptive technology, I think you've got to find a way to pitch it as, what is the problem we're solving? I mean, in Parchment's case, so we're creating an online credential account. What the hell does that mean? Nobody understands what that actually means. I've earned 3 degrees and, I've got those diplomas. Why do I need an online credential account? So we have to actually go ahead and explain it. And we say, look, there's 80 million transcripts that fly around as paper every year. Why would you want to do that? We're wasting all of that time and money and resource and energy to be able to go ahead and do that. Let's convert that into electronic. And once you've converted it into electronic, well, now suddenly all sorts of other good things are possible. Other disruptions are possible. But we first had to tie it to some way to describe what the problem is that allows us to launch into the rest of the disruption. So that would be my answer.
Okay, well, I got the cue that we're out of time. I think these guys will be around here briefly afterwards. It's a pleasure, and I'm privileged to lead this and moderate for you guys. It's great to be near you too, and just up the road from you guys. So thank you for being here. Round of applause for our panel, ladies and gentlemen.